Hello everybody, this is DiANtinatalist and Alex here. I'm a couple of antinatalists, and we're at Monte Alban in Oaxaca, Mexico, and we have a message, a brief antinatalist message, and so Alex is going to go over the introduction for you.
Yeah, so there's a certain topic that I think is interesting to discuss when it comes to antinatalism. So one of the things that I've noticed is that when somebody argues in favor of antinatalism, the arguer, the speaker, the focus is on them more than the actual philosophy. So the person that's advocating antinatalism gets asked really silly and quite insulting questions like, are you antinatalist because you're unhappy, or because you're just bitter? Just questions like that. And also, when somebody takes an antinatalist view, they're also criticized for indulging in enjoyable activities and for enjoying luxury things and enjoying pleasures in life. And I think this is an important topic to address, because simply because somebody's a pessimist does not mean that their life is not enjoyable, nor does it mean that they're somehow not allowed to participate in enjoyable activities. Antinatalism is really all about reducing harm and just not taking the risk on behalf of somebody who hasn't consented, i.e. the unborn child. Because every time somebody procreates, they take a serious risk. And this risk can result in cancer and trauma and homelessness and utter destruction of that person's physical body or psyche, or really just about anything can happen. So antinatalism is just the philosophical view that taking that risk is wrong. But anything beyond that, what the speaker's personal lifestyle, should have absolutely no relevance to that. Another thing too is, like, antinatalists often get asked, why don't you kill yourself? Which is also another, insulting kind of question. Just because somebody is antinatalist does not mean that they're obligated to kill themselves, because antinatalists and pessimists don't say that life inherently is bad. They just say that there's a risk in life, and taking that risk through procreation is wrong. So some lives are fun. I agree that some lives are very enjoyable and easy and cool. But in terms of whether it's right to make a new life, it's very, very ethically wrong because of the consent issue and because of the fact that all sorts of terrible things can happen. It's like playing Russian roulette. So it's just, the final thing I just want to say is that an antinatalist, like, personal life should have no relevance to how the philosophy stands on its own.
Yes, and I want to just elaborate on that just a little bit more. Now, as an antinatalist, I don't think we should deny ourselves pleasure. For instance, traveling, going to concerts, eating really nice food, or buying a nice pair of shoes or a nice hat. And that's another complicated aspect about antinatalism, because, like, there's many things I enjoy about life, and some people think that it's a dichotomous relationship with me, that because I do enjoy life, how does that make me an antinatalist? Well, let me go into just a scenario here. Okay, I'm traveling right now and I like to travel. However, there are great sacrifices made to travel. There are people at home taking care of my dogs, getting the mail. Other people have to sacrifice things in order for me to travel. It's environmental harm in order to fly in an airplane. And traveling is very tiring, and it's very complicated. There's a lot of layovers. There's a lot of expense. There's a lot of tiresome activities, carrying around baggage, and a lot of waiting at the airports. But I really like to travel, and I really like music, and I like culture, and I like different foods. However, at the very end of my life, there's going to be a lot of losses, and it's getting harder and harder to travel, and COVID's not making it any easier. But as you age, it's more difficult to travel. It's more difficult to walk. And I walked up, quite a few steps over here, which I will pan after this video is over. And I'll show you some of the ruins of Monte Alban. But as I age, I'm seeing great losses. Like, even my vision is not the same as it was 10 years ago. And my stamina, my comfort level, the ability to walk long distances, the ability to climb. And the thing about life is it's a big tease because you're always cheated. In the end, it's a big cheat. You're going to lose your senses, whether it's your sight, your hearing, your sense of smell, maybe sense of touch, and mobility. So everybody is on the decline. And I don't look forward to losing things. And no matter whether it's, a sense of hearing or sense of sight. But, you can only look back to your younger days when you were more agile, you were more mobile, and you could just do things more. And it's a sad reflection to see those losses. And, probably in about 10 years, I'll look back at these videos and think, wow, I was really young back then. And, I could climb those ruins at Monte Alban, or I could, walk the streets of New Orleans or, Oaxaca or New York City, and all those things come to an end. So life is a big cheat. And I'm very aware of that cheat. And so is Alex, and he's very young. Alex is 27. And, he's learned from a very young age. He's been becoming enlightened, and he just sees the great harms in life, the great sufferings and the great sacrifices. And, but, I'm not on this earth to deny myself pleasure of travel and music and food, even if it does harm the environment. I did not ask to be placed here. And while I'm here, I seek to entertain myself as much as possible, and to enjoy what life has to offer, because I do believe that life has a very small percentage of happiness to offer. And you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, while I think there's some enjoyable aspects of life, in general, starting a new life just isn't ethically justifiable. And another thing too is, with all the pleasures in life, only beings that exist can miss out on those pleasures. And missing out on pleasure is always a harm, like not having the job you want, or not having the car you want, or not having whatever you want. That's a really big harm to a lot of people. That causes a lot of negative emotions and a lot of negative feelings. So even though there is pleasure in life, I just see that as a reason to not even bring more people into life, because a lot of those people will miss out on those pleasures. But like I said earlier, the main point of this video is that people who are antinatalists, they have no obligation to miss out on pleasure or deny themselves pleasure, because just because you enjoy pleasure does not mean you're justifying life as inherently good. All you're doing is you're simply taking a segment of life and just, enjoying that segment. But overall, you still believe that life is inherently bad.
Yeah, that's a great word, justifying. This does not justify life one bit. And just to give you an idea of the difficulty taking this photograph, there was a big family with children, and they were right beside us making all kinds of noises. So we literally had to wait to do this video.
I can still hear them.
Yeah, I can still hear them too. And it's a real, it's a real boner killer to hear families in a background. It's a buzzkill. But anyway, yeah, so we waited for the family to dissipate, because we did not want them in our video, nor their children's, voices. And so then we started our first video, and then there was a robocall, a ridiculous robocall. And we had maybe filmed a minute into our video, and the phone call abruptly aborted our start. So then I had to go put the video on airplane mode. So then all of these frustrations in order to get this silly video, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, people may look at this video and say, "Oh wow, look at the perfection. Look how how comfortable they are. They're just at ease. They're confident with themselves." But just to make this video, it was...
Yeah, there's just so much hidden discomfort in life that a lot of people don't see.
Yeah, and people don't elaborate. They don't elaborate on the discomforts. Yeah. Like right now, I'm a little bit sore just standing here, and I'm a bit sweaty too. I mean, it's very comfortable, don't get me wrong. It is very comfortable in this part of Mexico because there's no humidity. But, you know, we were walking a ways, maybe half a mile or a mile to get here. So anyway, this is just a picture, and what you see is not always what the person's feeling. Like, you know, we could have indigestion right now. We could be hungover. We could, you know, we could have a sunburn, and you would not know that from this video.
And it's especially true in like family units, because families are always portrayed as being happy and loving, and there's so much suffering and agony and distress and harm and abuse in so many households. And households are kind of like a contained system that, you know, you can read on the news that a car crash happened and people were harmed, but you never know the harms that take place in somebody's household, and the pains and the, you know, so there's just so much pain that's hidden away from life, and things sometimes do look good on the surface, but I would say life overall is very, very harmful and very destructive.
Yeah, there was this really, really good Unsolved Mysteries, and it was on Netflix, and it was about a large family in France. And you can plug into it. You can go on Amazon, and I think it's one of the second series of the family, but the whole family was murdered by the father, and the 2 dogs were murdered, and they were all buried together. So that was a great video, and nobody ever suspected that family to have any kind of you know, turmoil within its ranks. So do you have anything you want else to add before I pan around to the mountains and the ruins?
Yeah, and another thing I just wanted to add is that with this pandemic that's starting, I mean, this is really highlighting a lot of this is really highlighting the limitations of human beings and the limitations of life. And just, to me, it's just, the human body is so fragile and susceptible, and the government is just so flawed. And the fact that, you know, everything just shuts down because of one small virus just shows how fragile this world is. And it's not worth bringing someone into a world where everything is so fragile. The body's so fragile. People's jobs are so fragile, and everything can just be lost in the blink of an eye. So just that aspect highlights why people shouldn't reproduce, especially now in 2020.
Oh, especially. And, you know, this just goes to show you that the more people you have in your family, the more that are going to have to suffer, the more people that are going to spread viruses and catch viruses. So it's also pointless. If you're a parent and you're on the fence, or not, I mean, if you're a non-parent and you're on the fence about breeding, reproduction, you know, think about it long and hard. Think about it, because most people put more emphasis on the car that they buy or the sandwich that they order.
Yeah, people give very little thought to the consequences of procreation, and they care more about the baby's name than like the harms that may occur to the baby.
They care more about their latte at Starbucks than the effort that they put into procreation.
And just the scope of the harm that can come out from procreation is immense. Like, you know, a 3-second orgasm can lead to 80 years of suffering, and it can lead to instances of rape and trauma and misery and absolute discomfort. And life has a tendency to just drag on, and it's not just negative experiences that occur, it's that these negative experiences are really just spread and dilated, and they go on for a long time.
And it's not just negative experiences, it's also boredom and just everyday chores, or
there's so much monotony and boredom in life, and people like really go crazy from that. It really drives them crazy. Like, life is net negative in the sense that if you just put somebody in a room, there's no active harm happening to them, they'll still feel really uncomfortable. They will hate that experience. Like, solitary confinement in jail, where somebody's just placed in a room, is considered one of the worst punishments, because there's no stimulation. People constantly need stimulation as a way to escape, whether it's a cigarette or a drug or just about any sort of distraction. So the fact that people need to be distracted to be happy just shows that this planet isn't suitable for existence.
Bread and circuses. People need a constant array of entertainment. That's why when people are waiting in line at the grocery or the bank, or waiting inside for COVID related restrictions, everybody pulls out their phone, or they play video games, or people used to just twiddle their thumbs because they didn't have anything to do, or they had little pocket games, or even a dice or a jacks. But now people pull out their cameras or cell phones, and they tinker around on the internet or with video games or with photography. But the aspect of boredom is very, very real. And if you really take a look and if you're introspective about your own life, just think about the times within the hours of just one day of existence, and consider the times that were boring, the times waiting to get in line, the times to pay for your food, or just, cleaning the house, or, waiting for a phone call, or, waiting for, you call the bank or something and get all these prompts, and then you end up getting a voicemail, or, some ridiculous thing. But there's a lot of boredom within everybody's existence, day after day after day. And those instances are not pleasurable.
And they're not negligible either.
No, they're not negligible. And I think a lot of people have such low standards that they negate the times of the boredom in their life. And, I think that people just don't process the negativity in their life. They just don't know how to equate it with like minor suffering, or they don't know how to analyze.
And people are just brainwashed too to continue having children without really recognizing the harms. Even though they know that there's all these harms in the way, it's just something that they do without question, without, any sort of thought.
And procreation is the ultimate form of low standards. Do you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So let me pan around. I'm going to show some of this beautiful scenery before I disconnect the video.
Pyramids, they're completely under dirt.